Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to The Mob. It is Live with The Mob with Daniel, Craig, and Joey.
All right, we are back live this week with Chris Sondles, head of the Tri-5 Nationals in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And this week we're talking to him about the Tri-5 Nationals, what may be different from prior years, and what to expect here in the future. So anyhow, Chris, thanks for joining us. And how are you today?
I'm doing good, guys. I appreciate being asked to be on. We're doing real good. 2 weeks away from the big show, so normally we have 365 days to prepare. This time we've had about 700 days, so it's going to be good.
Perfect.
Well, awesome. Well, usually like I say in the past couple of shows, usually I hog up all the questions here. So, anybody want to take the questions first?
I'll start. Just because I've met Chris before and talked with him, so I'm going to jump in here a little bit. Chris, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking excited to see you in person in a couple of weeks if you're not too busy walking around shaking hands.
Oh, well, if there's not a fire to be put out, I'll talk as long as I can.
Oh, absolutely. So for people that don't know, I met Chris back in 19. He came up to Minnesota for Back to the 50s, and myself and Mark Levine just happened to be walking through their area, and all of a sudden he yells out Tri-5 Mob because I had my shirt on. Turned around, we talked, and they had a good conversation. And basically, I was on the fence about going to nationals because I only work summertime, so it's a busy time. And I'm like, God, should I go? Should I not go? And then basically, I signed my life away and said, well, I guess I'm going to the nationals. It's going to be fun. So that's how I got to know Chris and went down nationals, had a blast. And so obviously, everything changed after last year, Chris. So jumping into questions. This is a big year. It's got to make a comeback. It's got to be a big splash. I'd like to say you're going to have 5,000 cars there. What's your thought and about that, number wise, and how is this going to be different from the years prior?
Well, we watch it. This is our sixth show, and we've been real careful this year. If anyone who's a member of the American Tri-5 Association read my editorial last month, we're not calling it an annual event anymore. Because last year we couldn't have an event, we had every intention to, but life happens and COVID happened and so be it. But we've taken that time to really understand what we do right, we hope, and some of the things that, maybe needed a little bit of tweaking to make a little better. And I think people have kind of responded very positively. When the whole thing went down last year, it was kind of fresh. We announced a little bit sooner than a lot of other places announced that we were going to call it. We were in direct communication all the way to the governor's office, the county level, the city level. And, it is what it is. But I'll say this, fast forward a year and the mayor, the police chief, the county executive, people from the state level, they all can't wait, for obvious reasons, to have this event back in Kentucky. And we're real excited to be back. I track everything. It's to me, it's like an athletic event. I track what works and what doesn't work. And numbers, Craig, are one of the things that I track. I track them monthly as they come in. I track the number of people who are members of the American Tri-5 Association as opposed to who are not. People who it's their first time coming to the event. And I really want to start there. For one, going into, we still have 2 weeks of pre-registration time left, and we are already in excess of 250 plus more than we've ever had when we swung the gate. So if we just do some easy numbers, the most we ever had was 2770. We're 200 up right now. We normally get somewhere between 800 and 900 at the gate. That puts us over 3,000. And I say all the time, good willing and God gives me good weather, we'll put a bunch of cars in there. One good number to look at. Right now, we're looking at about 23% of the people who are coming have never been before. So right now, that's that you're looking at 500-ish people who've never been to the show, and I think that bodes well, for the show. Racer numbers, Joey, I know this is dear to you. Our racer numbers have always escalated year by year. But one of the things we're doing this year, I know you're going to ask later, David, is what we're doing new. We decided that after missing a year, we're going to try to make up a little bit of that. So we added a third day. And it's a third full day at Beach Bend. Same cost to entry, same cost to race, same cost for the vendors, same cost for the swap meters, just an extra day. So the racers have responded well. I always feel if you give racers, 1,320 feet of asphalt and you tell them they can play all day, they'll come out. Now we've given them 3 days and our racers have responded. Our racer numbers right now are equal to where they are normally at the day of the event. And racers, Joey, you can attest to this, they might race next weekend. They don't know if they're going to blow a motor or God knows what else is going to happen. So they typically don't pre-register. So our racer numbers are solid. And I think this year we may double our best racer numbers ever. I think that's probably the best way to say that. So from numbers standpoint, if this was a money ball thing in Tri-5 National Land, this is going to be a good year. It's going to be a great show for everyone to see.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I would say my first time was a couple of years ago, and I didn't even bring a car, and I was super, super excited, just to be there. And, even my car wasn't even finished, and, I'm still working with it, but I would just.
And I've been following it on Facebook. I've never met you, I don't believe, Joey, but I actually told my wife at dinner, I said, if the name Joey Truelove seems to be pretty unique. If this is the same guy that's building this gold 56 with the lip, hats off to you, brother. I can't wait to see it in person.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm anxious to get there. But, I just look at, everybody kind of wants the perfect car, the finished car. And I mean, man, when I was out there, I just bring it. It doesn't matter if it's multicolored, doesn't have any interior in it. There's a possibility my car won't have interior in it. So it is what it is. It's still a Tri-5. And, I just encourage everybody to come out and, it's, you can go look at $200,000 cars all day long, but, I didn't even have my car. And I'm like, I just wish I had my car. If it just had one seat in it, I'd have been happy with that and not painted. So, it's a great event.
Joey, why didn't you have your car that year? I can't remember. What happened? Why didn't you have your car that year?
Oh, well, that was, my project Snowball turned into Project Avalanche. And
didn't it start out by Project Mailbox?
It started with Project Drag Radio on Project Wet Roads. And that just never comes out real well. Absolutely. But, I think the one thing when I left there was, why haven't I done this before? And I was like, and that was really it. It was just like, why haven't I done this before? I mean, that's the thing, and it just stuck with me. And that was my goal all, from the time I left was, and that was it. It's just, I want to come back here, good friends, a good event, and just to go out here and have a blast. The host hotel and stuff like that was just cool. Just walking around looking at hot rods and cars and talking to different people. And, that's what it's about. To me, that's what it's all about.
When we started this whole thing, and Craig, I think I shared a lot of this with you. We have a very similar background. The 57 that I own, my dad bought in 74. I know, Craig, you're very tied generationally to your car. And I grew up with this. I grew up as a classic Chevy Club kid. My dad was a part of that since the early days. We remember 120. And, we did all the judging and the shows and not to take anything away from that, because those times allowed us to have these times. I never want anyone to talk negatively about that. And you're open to your own opinion, but that time frame pushed all of the reproduction parts manufacturers to produce parts that allow you, Joey, and you, Craig, and David, and myself to build these cars. I hate to say economically because it's not, but if you take what we do compared to restoring a 53 Buick, it's pretty economical, right? So
right.
Those days of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s of what they created, what I wanted to do was just recreate it, but make it fun. Take away some of the not fun pieces of that, and I Joey, one of the biggest thrills for me is seeing that family in their 30s roll in a 4-door sedan and park right beside that guy who has that $150,000, whatever, convertible, hardtop, whatever. It doesn't matter. Pro Touring, original car, doesn't matter. And by the end of the weekend, they're best friends. To me, that gives me just tremendous joy because, our goal with the American Tri-5 Association, which you got to remember, didn't exist when we started the first show. The first show was in 2015. We didn't even announce that we were going to have an association until that show because I wasn't real sure if we'd have 1,000 cars. We had 1,800 and, some at the first show, and it just seemed like the momentum, the timing was just right. And if you look at the people on this phone call, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I may be the oldest one on this phone call. That's a good thing for where this hobby is going. And, it thrills me when I see it. It really, really from the bottom of my heart thrills me when I see it.
Well, you and I touched on that before, Chris, because as we met it back to the 50s, the biggest thing that always worries me a little bit is that next generation when you go to these car shows, because as I went to back to the 50s this year and you sit there and you watch, and there's a few younger couples that come through, a few young kids, but primarily it's that 65 and older crowd that's sitting at the car shows, and it's how do you get them involved? How do you get the new kids? And even my son, he comes with, he's not, obviously it's not his car. He's got some time invested. He loves going to the car show, but once he gets to the car show, it's just phone time sitting there. And I go, God, we got to get these kids involved in getting that next level, and how do you keep doing that?
Well, I started building model cars and, in fact, I've got a guy I just texting back and forth with today, a real good friend of mine from Michigan named Jeff Betts. He and I would compete year after year at the Classic Chevy Club convention of who took away the number one prize. And he'd argue he won more than me. And I might dispute that a little bit, but it probably went back and forth. And I hadn't seen Jeff in, 25 years. The last car show that my wife and I and the group from Woody's Hot Rods went to before they closed the world down last year was the Detroit Autorama, which we go to every year. And there I am walking through the aisles of the Detroit Autorama. And it was like we were 12 again and never missed a beat. We're both in our 50s. And he has a new 57 wagon that he's bringing to the show. So how do you get him involved? I don't know. Go to the hobby. Can you find a hobby store? Go to eBay. Buy him a model car. This is a generational thing, and I've answered this question thousands of times. You got to remember, I started working for the Classic Chevy Club in 1990, so that's 31 years ago. And my job 31 years ago was trying to figure out how to answer the question you just asked, Craig, is how do you get the young people involved? I would challenge you, Joey, as being someone who's only been to the show a couple times. What was the average age, do you think, of the people who were at the show? Were they younger? Maybe that's an easier way to say it. Older, younger, or about what you thought they would be when you got to the show?
I figured they were about that. I'll tell you, my car was my dad's car, so that's kind of how I got into that too. But, my thing with this, and I think it's a secret sauce, the younger generation are all into new stuff, the late model stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But, to me, and I like all cars, but if you have something that sits good and is fast and has maybe some late model stuff to it, some technology to it, that's what kids look at. I'm not boasting my car, but I get invited to these little, whenever there's R8s, Audi 8s, all these really fast Lamborghinis, and I don't roll race, but to roll out there and my buddy's got a 63 Nova twin turbo car, just like mine, and they are just amazed at these old cars. And so I think that's part of it, is to get the youth into that, to see, what these old cars that they can run. They're not just some, field car kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying, to get those involved in it. My daughter was like, because she's getting the car if something happens to me, and she was like, well, Dad, weren't the people that like these cars, will they all be dead? She had a good point. And I'm like, well, honey, but that's part of, going out and representing yourself and talking about old cars, because they have no idea what you have. And they're just like, wow, that's really cool. What is that? And it's like, there's your opportunity to talk about it. And, the more stuff you see, whether it's, at the Good Guys show doing the round and round, obviously the cars are not the platform for an all-out race car, but you can have cool car.
You got to make it fun, right? Cars generationally, I remember when there was Model T clubs. Is there another one of those around? I don't know. I've watched it go. I've watched it go through the cycle. But the one thing that I think that the four of you guys and my staff and myself tries to bring to the table is, we want this thing to be fun. I used to tell people, when you show up in Bowling Green Thursday night or Friday morning, and now it's going to be Tuesday night, Wednesday, right, Thursday morning, whatever it is. By the time you're done, I want you to be exhausted. I want there to be so much more to do than sitting in that lawn chair, flicking beer caps at each other, try to stay awake. I want you to be exhausted. And that's, the exhibition racing goes a long way. You've probably seen there's videos on YouTube that from past events. And I always believe that fun is multi-sense. It needs to be sight. Cars are easily seen, but they need to be heard. A drag strip automatically offers that. They need to be, you need to be able to smell them. The exhibition guys that come out with the alcohol cars and the big burnouts, and that brings a whole, when that young guy, Joey, sees a car like yours, or some of the exhibition guys, or just some of the hardcore bracket guys, pulling their wheels off the ground and doing, it's crazy what some of these guys could do with cars. And David, you asked a question about what's new. We've added an element this year, because Bowling Green is the home of the Corvette. And they have for years been trying to tie something in with the National Corvette Museum Motorsports Park, which, if you're not familiar, everyone knows where the big spear is, right? Where the Corvette Museum is. If you get off at that exit going south on 65, instead of going to the right, you go left and you run right into the Motorsports Park. So we're doing a couple things out there. On Wednesday night, going back to how excited the community is, the Visitors Bureau and the county are hosting a welcome party at the National Corvette Museum Motorsports Park. And they're actually having their professional drivers come out. You can do ride-alongs in a C8 Corvette, which is pretty cool. There you have a really, and I've driven a lot of go-karts in my year. When you travel to as many car shows as I have, go-karts are second nature. These are some bad dudes they have at this go-kart track. And they're having a welcome party with 2 live bands, food trucks, the whole bit. So I would encourage anyone listening, come out to the Motorsports Park Wednesday night, times 5 to 7. It's first come, first serve on the parking. I would try to get there, as close to 5 as you can, but that's going to be a fun time. And then on Thursday, we're actually doing an open in the afternoon. You can actually take your Tri-5. Joey, I'd like to see yours out there. On the track and take laps around the National Corvette, Motorsports Park track. You can actually register by just going to their website.
Line lock and just do a burnout on down the front straightaway.
They probably would frown, but I won't be there. So go ahead.
Joey,
Chris told me to do it. Say Chris told me to do it.
Yeah, you have your triple dog dare, Joey.
Yeah. But that's a new thing. And again, back to the youth, you strap a kid in a car, and I think you're allowed to have passengers as long as they're over the age of 14. I believe that's the date. You take them down a straight line during a fun run or something, which everyone's allowed to do. Any registered participant that has seatbelts can do a fun run down, Beach Bend Raceway. But if you take a young person around, a road course in one of these cars and actually show them what it can do, that may take some of your supercar guys, Joey, and kind of bring them around a little bit. So, we're always trying to do something new.
Cool.
Absolutely. That sounds fun.
In our comments on where it's going out into the Tri-5 Mob live, Josh Johnson had said when we were talking back about the 4-doors, he says, that's what got him into the game, and he's glad that the 4-door market is where it was at that point in time. And we had someone ask a question. Are you going to expand shows more locally to the central? Possibly like, I'm going to say like Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. I understand that I don't know if there was supposed to be a West Coast show. Is that still going to be something that happens? But then also, is there a thought about eventually catching a Midwest show?
Well, a couple things to answer that. Yes, we had multiple requests to do other shows. And so we made plans. We still have plans. It's been postponed now twice due to COVID to do a Western invasion in Bakersfield. And that's still planned for this October. We hope that, anybody, comes out and supports, and I think they will. But doing multiple shows, there's always been a big question mark as to, how good of an idea is that? Would it distract from Bowling Green? And one of the things that we've realized is that, and hopefully Craig and Joey, you can attest to this. I know, Craig, when you came, you said, why is it so hot? Well, it's Bowling Green, Kentucky in August. But would you guys agree? There's not another facility in the United States that looks like Beach Bend Park. It's immaculate. It looks like it is a 250-acre horse park in Kentucky that they let us rowdies go down there and play with our cars in. If there was a facility, and if there was, yeah, maybe. But there's too many ifs in that sentence to really come up with a good answer. And the reality is, Bowling Green's Bowling Green. It's like Back to the 50s, Greg. Could you have a Back to the 50s South? I don't know. The guy from Tampa that normally goes to Minnesota, is he going to go to Minnesota again? I don't know. So I'm not going to rule it out, David. But for the meantime, we put 365 days of blood, sweat, and tears into everything we can do in Bowling Green.
And sometimes too much kind of takes away the secret part of it too. I mean, I could say, driving down, and you're just the little windy roads as you go down, and the horse farms. It just has a cool essence about it. It is warm. I would say, the covered stands are great. It'd be nice if they put some big old fans in there and just had some air moving across there, But other than that, it's an iconic thing. LS Fest is there, so the track is good. I don't know. It's just I was just taken back, like I said, just going there with the big trees and they overrun the road, and just to see an invasion of 55 through 57 cars, taking over the city,
Right.
And it's just one of those memorial things that will put back in your head, like, glad I made it,
No.
And so, yeah.
Now, Chris, I want to say that you're a little understated in saying it's warm. Okay, because I'm not going to lie to you. I work outside every day, and now Minnesota is right now in a drought where we've been above 90 degrees for like 3 weeks, and it's okay. But when I got out of my truck in Bowling Green and I took a gulp of that humidity air, and I said, wow, I guess we're here. And as my wife, and anybody knows, if you're married, if your wife is unhappy and sweaty, it's not a good day, right? And so heat, that was hot. That was 98 degrees, 90% humidity. It hurt. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been to a show where the show that you're drinking right now, have you ever been to a show where they handed out free water the entire show? So Golden Star, we've got plenty of good sponsors. Golden Star Automotive was one of our sponsors. They sponsor the giveaway car every year. And when we first came up with this idea, 7 years ago, the owner of Golden Star said, well, I want to do something different. What can I do? All sponsors want to do something different, right?
Right.
So, what can I do to be different? I said, well, hey, Paul, it's hot as hell in Bowling Green. How about you supply water? And he has supplied over 5,000 bottles of labeled water that say Golden Star every year. And he just texted me the other day and said, hey, you added a third day. I added 30% more water. So
that's
it's
awesome.
hot.
Right.
But, you know, what I try to tell people as I'm sweating right there with you, brother, is at least it's not raining.
But Joey and I got prepared. We both are Makita tool guys. So I got the cordless 18-volt Makita fan.
Nice.
I'm bringing 6 batteries, and
Nice.
we're gonna sit in comfort. I got the new canopy going, and if it's hot, I'm not moving.
Good.
Exactly.
Hey,
Yeah.
Can I touch on one thing, David, and I'll let I
Sure.
ask any questions, because the biggest question we get on the phones all day long, this is the first time that we have not mailed registrations. And no matter what I do, I have critics, and that's fine. That's fine. I got big shoulders. But there's a problem with that system of mailing stuff. So, Craig, as you know, with Back to the 50s, where do you pick up your credentials?
At the host hotel.
Yes, sir, you do. At Street Rod Nationals, where do you pick up your credentials? Cardinal Stadium. If you go to any national event, where do you pick up your credentials? At the event. There's a reason for that. So this year, if you know the track, you know when you come off the county road, which is something new this year, we actually worked with the county and the fine folks of Bowling Green. That's actually 3 lanes now between Garvin Lane and the track, which will help with both ingress of the cars and of egress of the cars. But when you enter off the county road and you can make a right down the tree-lined road, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When you get to town, either Wednesday, which I think anytime from noon to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, come out to the track. You're not going to get into the facility, but come out to the track, turn down that tree-lined road. At the end of the tree-lined road is the historic Beach Bend Amusement Park. And in that parking lot will be a big tent where you pick up your credentials. Everything's alphabetical. It's easy for me to say, just like it is anywhere else. As long as you know your last name, you can pick up your credentials. You'll be in and out of there in a few minutes. And the same thing goes for Thursday. If the folks that can't get there till Friday and Saturday, it will be at the base of the roller coaster, which if you just follow the guys with signs, you don't need to know where you're going because they already know where you need to go. So
Right.
I assure everybody it will go smoothly.
So let me ask this, because this is
Hey,
a new
Craig,
question for me.
Craig,
So-
real quick, Craig. Steve Cox is saying, "Quit crying." It's Kentucky. Some of us live here every day, and we're used to it.
Right.
So
No. Yeah. Let Steve have that weather. I'm moving south eventually, but I'm going to tell you that those 3 days in Bowling Green were unbelievable.
Yeah. So my question, Chris, is so if you're bringing a trailer and obviously you're going to the racetrack, is there a different way of getting into the park?
Are you pre-registered as a racer, Joey?
I am.
So you'll get your registration packet. So racers will get their packets in the mail when you come off the county road instead of making a right, like I said, to go down the tree line road. There'll be someone standing there again who knows where you're going, and he'll point you straight. You'll go straight and come right into the park. So racers, vendors, swap meters do not follow that same protocol. Show car participants follow the protocol of having to pick up their credentials on site because there's more of them.
Okay.
So you should be getting yours in the mail probably any day now.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Tell you what, I'm going to jump off this call for just a second because I got to reconnect the Bluetooth so it's not echoing.
all right.
Mom had to call
Here's
again.
a question.
Yeah.
Go
Here's
ahead,
a
George.
question. What should people, do to prepare? I mean, I know we're kind of post-COVID, or what are some things that people may look at? I mean, obviously there's free water, but is there anything that people for the first time would want to know?
Well, I think you and Craig have kind of stumbled on it. Bring a fan. I think that people should prepare to know their limits. I think that's the biggest thing. They're long days. People are excited. They seem to get there earlier, and every time they get there earlier, we get there earlier. So, we swing the gates pretty early in the morning, and we try to shut it down each night around 6 to get people back to the hotels, to the swimming pools, and restaurants, but know your limits. If you're hungry, get something to eat. If you're tired, sit down. But other than that, pace yourself. We added a third day because what we found was people couldn't get it all done. Exhibition racing. Everyone likes to see racing, but they love to see the 200-mile-an-hour cars, right? They love to see the wheel standards, and so do I. So,
most definitely. I mean, when I was younger, it was, we'd go to the local track when it was an IHRA track, and they did the IHRA national events, and they had like Don Garlitz or whatever, and Don Garlitz brought, I forget which swamp rat it was, but it still had the weed burner headers on it, from the days when they didn't have guardrails or whatever. And you'd be up in the stands listening, and he'd fire that thing up back in the pits, and you'd get out of the stands, and I was probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years old at the time, and I'd run all the way back to where it was and hear the thing running, and then when it would go to make a pass, they'd announce that he's coming up and whatnot, and everybody would beat feet up to the stands to see that thing run. And the thing it was a neat old car. It ran like 8 or 9 seconds, and it smoked the tires the whole length of the quarter of a mile. So,
sure.
I think that adds to with the roof on there, because all that echoing. I mean, that just adds to the whole atmosphere of that whole thing. So,
timing this year, exhibition cars are running at noon and 4 all 3 days. Noon and 4 Thursday, noon and 4 Friday, noon and 4 Saturday. So again, if you're there and you're trying to prepare, plan your day. I'll tell you this. Yeah. I know there's going to be one heck of a good swap meet this year. Jack Kells, the guy that puts on the swap meet for me, good friend. He's put together a fantastic swap meet. You got to remember, these guys have had 2 years to collect parts, and you fish where the fish are. So if you're trying to sell Tri-5 parts, you bring them to the Tri-5 Nationals. I'd probably hit that early in the week. The vendors, we've got a good vendor row, but they're going to be there all 3 days. They're going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Plan accordingly, and I think you'll get more out of the event. And be nice to your neighbor. The guy parking beside you is going to be your buddy or not for the weekend. That's better if you're buddies.
Yeah.
What about the golf cart thing? Because I know there was like a huge golf cart thing last year or 2 years ago.
Okay. There's a huge golf cart thing as in social media saying there was a huge golf cart thing, or in person there was a huge golf cart?
No, in person there was a lot of golf carts. I know the guy I went with 2 years ago, he was having some foot issues, and we were just trying to get one, and so couldn't get one, and it was back ordered, and then just I guess kind of clear that up and see if golf carts are available.
I'll be glad to, and they are, but they're not. So the American Disabilities Act, says you can't ban golf carts. They have to have some sort of mobility device available at the track. And at that track rules are scooters or any type of smaller device are not allowed at the track because they've had issues in the past because of the terrain. As there's some hills. And there has been, like any rules are made because something bad happened. Somebody rolled down the hill in a rascal, so you're not allowed to have rascals. So handicap placard golf carts, they're allowed. Now, we enforce that. Racers. Joe, are you bringing a pit vehicle?
I've got a 4-wheeler.
Okay. Racers have the availability of having a pit vehicle because they have to get between the pit and the starting line. They have to get down to the return road. So those are there. And
the question on that is, when they have the pit vehicle, are they allowed to also go and mosey through the car show area, or is it kind of more they need to stay, racers need to keep the pit vehicle more in the pits and more for the racing purposes only?
I'll answer that this way. You can police things down to the point that nobody's having any fun, or you can ask people to be respectful. And I would ask everybody to be respectful. Be respectful of your neighbor. Be respectful of their car. Be respectful of their kid. Be respectful of the road you're on. Do we ask the racers, hey, just kind of stay down here? Do we tell them you can't come up here? Do we impound their vehicle? No, we don't.
Right.
Just be respectful, because as soon as you say, hey, you can't come down here, someone's going to say, hey, I just bought a hood in the swap meet. and I need to get over there with this vehicle. So you can over police things. We have, and we always have golf carts for rent through Sailor's Golf Cart Rentals. We have 100. That's it. It'll come from my lips. We rent 100 golf carts. Keep in mind, there'll be 3,000 cars. If you think 2 people per car, that's 6,000 people. There'll be somewhere way above that number in attendance in those grandstands. There's 100 golf carts that we rent. So it's a lot, but it's not. So the biggest thing I would ask everybody is just be respectful. You know, I like yourself, David, I've been going to drag races since I was a little kid. And I have gotten almost run over by the biggest. And the Don Perdome's team almost ran me completely off my feet when I was about 5 years old. So be aware of your surroundings, and just if you're on a motorized vehicle, I don't care if it's a 55 Chevy or if it's a golf cart, be polite.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
enough,
When you talked about your story, John Force almost ran me over in his scooter one time, and he was just going, honking the horn. So it's just what it is. So
I was at Walmart yesterday in Sam's Club. You want to talk about getting run over by some big people in scooters? I'm right there with you guys. Just not as famous.
just be
our
polite.
fault.
Same as Walmart.
It's
right?
not our fault that you can't get away from the Walmart scooters because you can't run.
I don't run anymore. You don't run unless you're being chased. That's the number one rule. Don't run unless you're being chased. Hell yeah.
Hey, we're. Can I go ahead? I'll say this later. I'll remember something.
No, go ahead.
On Thursday, and Joey, your car looks spectacular online, so I want to see it in person. But one of the things we are adding a little bit of a competition award this year on Thursday is All Chevy Performance Magazine, which is a new publication. They're doing a great job. It's one of the folks that put on Modern Rodding, and good friends of mine, Brian Brennan, who was with Street Rodder Magazine, and Tim Foss own the magazine. They're doing a great job. They wanted to be a part of the event. On Thursday, we're doing an All Chevy Performer of the Event challenge, kind of like Hot Rod of the Year that Good Guys does. So basically what it would be is at 11:30 on Thursday, any contender would show up in the staging lanes. And a contender would be someone who could do the following things. They need to be able to make a quarter-mile pass. They need to be able to take a 50-mile country ride on public roads. And they need to be able to make one lap around the Corvette Motorsports Park. And then they come back to the event. Now, people have asked me, well, how do you judge that? Well, a lot of times we don't have to, because when you do something like that, Hot Rod of the Year judges itself every year, because if you have 10 cars start and 5 of them come back, it's pretty easy to narrow it down. But it's an all-around award for exactly what it says, top performer of the event. Straight line's fun, love it. But if you can't make a turn, probably not the top performer as far as that's concerned. That's drag racing. That's not performing. It needs to be able to be street legal. Craig, your car's a great example of something that could be a lot of fun. It's stance, it's aesthetics, and it's performance. But I could very easily see a patinaed car that is sitting right on the right wheels and tires and does all the things it needs to do, walking away, and that's a pretty nice little honor when you think 3,000 cars.
Maybe a 56 wagon from Texas that started the 50s and newer patina craze.
Yeah.
The Chad Reynolds 56. That's a pretty neat car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful car. Last week we had Scott Sullivan on talking about his cars. Right. He was a legendary hero of mine as a child, and still is. Scott and I only live about an hour from each other, so we get a chance to see each other. Not as much as we probably should, but Scott's been a friend for a very, very long time. And buddy, long before we all thought we were cool, that dude was cool.
Oh yeah.
Yep. He was building stuff back in the 70s and 80s, and here I just remember like pictures in Hot Rod and stuff in the 90s, and when I originally met Scott on the phone and whatnot, and I was talking and telling him, that I fell in love with the car, back in the 90s in photos, and he's like, that was 80s, and I'm like, well, okay, I was, didn't get to see pictures of it until I was a little bit older, so.
Yeah.
But.
And that car looks as good today as it did then. He drove it to L.A. and back in, I don't know, 87 maybe, and maybe 86. And
I don't remember.
2015 at the Tri-5 Nationals, he won a top 25 award.
Yeah, cool.
Gotta like that. I was at a car show yesterday, and one of the mob guys who's commenting right now, he's got a 4-door patinaed. I want to say the color is Dusk Rose. Is that right? Original color, Dusk Rose, two-tone.
What year?
55.
Yeah, Dusk Rose. Yeah.
Yep, Dusk Rose, 4-door, and it's called the Family Hauler. And what's really nice about this, until a couple of years ago, and Josh, he'll say I'm wrong on something because I messed up a story, but he's got a twin turbo LS, and I know Joey's talked to him a little bit, and brake in 10 seconds, and basically it's got the stock suspension basically to a point, no roll cage, no hood, and 2 kid seats strapped in the back seat. And he would go to he went to the track and broke 10 seconds. And if I remember him saying, they basically said, hey, you got to get some safety equipment on this now because you're going too fast. So now he's over 1,000 horsepower, put a roll cage in it, twin turbo. And I sat and texted him, nice guy. We sat and talked about it, and he would be fun to watch. He said he's going to be possibly painting the car, which it's got perfect patina. I mean, honestly, if you look at it, go down the road, he's got the black steel wheels on it, and it looks like Grandpa's car going to get the groceries, get some lawnmower gas. But he rolls into the show, and I'm already sitting there in the shade because it was hot, by the way. So I'm sitting in the shade, and you can hear him. I mean, he hits the rev limiter coming right past the little show we're at, and it's a real fun, neat car to watch. But he would be one, and he's commenting that he's got to get there. But he drives it every day. That he drives it 65 miles round trip to work and back and forth, and that's what he does. No hood, and
bench seat. Don't forget the bench seat. It's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
He's got the race seats in it now.
Oh no, does he?
And nice story he shared with me the other day because he took his dad for a drive to the Street Machine Nationals, and so Josh is setting up to race the car, so he's got the racer's headrest behind him, and his dad doesn't. And I guess I haven't seen the video yet, but he's got video kind of like you, Joey, with your dad. But his dad's first ride in the 1,000 horsepower, and the thing goes straight as an arrow. So Dad's head's whipping back and smiling, and
that's cool.
And I met his dad on Sunday, and his dad was nothing but proud of the kid and proud of the car and everything. And I just say, don't paint it. That's my thing. The patina, I know patina's in with it right now, and it might fade. That might fade, but honestly,
if it fades, it gets cooler.
Right,
yeah,
but
sounds
it
like
just
he put a 10-point cage in it here recently and got it certified. So he says it's a 8.5 second certified cage now. So
I mean, I say leave them primered, and that way you can use Scotch-Brite to sand off any bumps or bruises, and it goes that way. So
hey, I'm tired of nice paint. I'm telling you, I walk around. If the car's on the right, I put the tool in the left hand going through the garage. It's like everything you do is like, oh man, it'd be so nice just to have something not that I put so much, not with the money and the paint and everything, but it is what it is.
Just wait until you put a decal on the bottom of the left fender to cover up a towing damage.
Oh yeah.
No.
Right. Well, I've seen guys paint on the Band-Aid.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to, because somebody had asked here, and we touched on the exhibition cars earlier. Can you say who the exhibition cars are for this year, or no?
We always like to have that be a little bit of a surprise.
Okay, that's fine.
Bob Mandel and Bob Mandel Jr. are going to be back. Scott Quisenberry is going to be back. We've got a good field this year. Several cars who have never been there before. My buddy Dick Massino out of Chicago, who the Shake, Rattle, and Run car. If any of us should cherish that guy, he's been racing the car since '61. He actually has 2 other cars. He's bringing 3 cars this year. Mike Molina, everyone knows Mike, the wheel standing 56. Boyd Howe, who has the Red Baron wheel stander. But we got a few surprises yet up our sleeves. It's going to be a fun year. The biggest thing with the exhibition cars is I don't care how loud they are, or they need to go from here to there. An exhibition is all the way down the track. So we try real hard every year to make them get A to B on a string.
What do we got to do? I'm going to put you on the line here, Chris. What do we got to do to section off just a spot for all the mob members that are coming? So we ain't got to fight for a spot. So we got our brotherhood all together. What do we got to do? Can we put up the banner and bring some orange cones and leave them up, or what can we do?
Be there early in the McDonald's parking lot, all grouped together and ride in together.
That's what I was afraid you're going to say.
Well, in all seriousness, one of the biggest issues there, Craig, is when you put on an event of this size, it's ingress and egress. Everything that happens in the middle is what everyone else sees. What I see is getting the cars in and getting them back out safely at night. That's honest to God, my goal all the time. And the ground that is inside of there is public as far as I'm concerned. You park where you park. And as soon as we allow people to start cordoning off, this car club here or this, group over here or whatever else, what ends up happening is instead of people showing up at the gate at 5 a.m. like they do, now they roll in 9, 10 o'clock because they have this parking space. And that's not fair to the guy who did get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and went somewhere to park. So,
well, and I've seen that at a local car show here where they have, it's all, everything's, sectioned off by the car year and whatever. And what they do then on those years is there's people that, they close the people being able to come in at noon. Well, some of these cars, they show up at like 10 till noon, quarter till noon, and they got all these cars that they got to try and shuffle through. And it's like, okay, well, this is like a quarter of the show that's showing up at, this point in time. And now they got to drive through all the other cars that are already been there since, like me, like 6 or 7 in the morning, that are there parked, and we got our cars all cleaned up. And you got people walking through the show. You got to get them to move. And it's a lot easier to get them.
Everyone seems to gravitate to where they, I parked at the tree line, or I parked at this triangle, or I parked, at this bend in the road, which is great. I mean, I would do that. I use the same urinal every year, so I understand that philosophy. But again, like the golf carts, just be polite to your neighbor. There's plenty of space there. The one thing that we are doing this year is we're going to move. Naturally, we have to move the pits down a little bit, down track a little bit, which doesn't matter. I think you drive your car to the starting line, so it doesn't matter if you have to drive another 100 yards, right, Joey? So we're gonna move the pits down a little bit to give more asphalt at the beginning of where the pit area was for show car parking, because we're gonna have more cars. And again, everyone that thinks there's a better idea, and again, I can shoulder it. My goal is to get everybody in safe, have a great time, get everybody out safe.
Right.
Yep. And
and that makes sense.
I whenever we do wrap up, I don't know how much time you have, and I'm not in a hurry. The one thing I want to touch on is the last time everyone leaves, which is after we give the giveaway car. This year's giveaway car, have you guys seen it online?
Oh yeah, I've actually kind of drooled over it a little bit over the past 24 months, because I saw it and I was like, hey, cool, a car that, I could get and have a driver instead of just mine being the racer that I sometimes swap engines and everything. And that kind of leads into my next question. I was going to ask, if entries from last year can't make it to this year, are they still eligible for the giveaway car? Is that something that...
The easy answer there, and it's always been this way, you got to be present to win. That is a requirement to winning the car. We don't give it away to someone who's not there. That's how
Fiano Guzzo won his car.
That's
because
right.
The first lady didn't show up.
He was second in line. Yep. And I still hear from that lady's husband because she was hot, Craig, and wanted to go back to the hotel. That's why they weren't. That's why Fiona has that car and she doesn't. But you have to be present to win. It's a lot of fun. We put a lot of effort and time and a lot of great sponsors from Golden Star to Dan Chuck to Ed Rinke Chevrolet down the road.
Most definitely.
The cars are amazing. My shop, Woody's Hot Rods, builds them every year. If I can figure it out, I told you I wasn't very technical, but if I can figure out how to show you a picture from my phone without hanging up on you, can I figure it out? I might be able to. Hold on. I think I can. Can you hear me? Am I there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
If you send me a picture real quick in Messenger or whatnot, I can pull it up and get it on the.
How about I'm not gonna do that because I don't want it shown everywhere. But I'm gonna show you guys. If I hold it up to the camera, whoever's seeing this can see it, right?
Right. Everybody, if you hold it up to the camera on your computer, then everybody that's watching it now will see it, and then when it goes posted to YouTube, everybody on YouTube will get to see it.
So this will be on social media soon. It'll be on display at the NSRA Nationals in the low car booth. It'll also be in our booth at the Tri-5 Nationals. But we assembled the engine for next year's giveaway car today, and I'll just give you a quick sneak peek at it. True Love, you better look quick.
All right, let's see.
Looks like, is that an LS with W heads on it, or with W valve cover heads?
It is. It is an LS Classics 409. So it's a
nice.
Nice.
It is an LS3 from Chevrolet Performance, Ed Rinke, and it's a W head motor, dual quad, Holly, ECU. Holly manifolds, the whole bit. It's a dual throttle body LS. It's
that's awesome.
bad.
Oh, cool. That's neat.
That's cool.
And the whole theme,
very cool.
The theme for the car is, I always like them to have a little bit of a theme, like Fiano's car or this year's car. Is I want this to be a high school kid's car from anywhere USA in 1969 that found a 62 Impala in a junkyard. There's the 409 tie-in, and just put all the good parts in a 55 Chevy. So it'll have an Impala interior by Ciadella with the rear center speaker. It'll have the Impala chrome console between the Impala bucket seats. It's going to be a pretty cool car.
Oh,
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Very, very cool.
I think we kind of touched on most of all the questions that I had for you. I guess just asking for an interesting fact here. How many entries did you have last year from the canceled show, and how many new entries for this year do you have?
I think when we pulled the plug, whenever that was, we were, I don't know. Put it this way: we've doubled what we had when COVID hit last year. So
okay.
So we've doubled what was already pre-registered, and believe it or not, no matter what you see on social media, the number of people who just threw up their hands and said, "Oh, I can't ever possibly think about coming back to this show," you guys would be shocked how small a number that was.
Well, I get mad on social. I get mad on social media for that fact because you read it, you see that, and you see what people say, and I can't believe they can't. I don't care if the people believe in COVID, don't believe in COVID, whatever the rules are. I understand the business of the Tri-5 Nationals, and I'm sure it hurt you guys emotionally, financially, everything, because you're putting stuff on hold. You got contracts, everything's out there. And these people that want to squabble over $50. The same thing happened at Back to the 50s, canceled last year. $35 to enter a car for the 3-day event. You get all the free coffee mugs and all that stuff. And I'm like, you got a $60,000 hot rod and you're worried about $35? Oh my goodness. So our hearts were broken last year because we didn't get to do stuff. The 50s and the Tri-5 Nats are the only two car shows I didn't go to. Every other local car show that was small, 100, 200, 300 cars was open. So I went to car shows all the time. But so the people online that say these things, I understand some people $50 is a lot of money sometimes, and they save up for these trips. But you are every show that I've been a part of, you're respecting it and going, hey, you're registered for next year. Don't worry, you're already in. You know, prices aren't going up. You know, and so I get mad when I think about these guys that gripe about $50. And I look at it, even if I've already paid. Matter of fact, I got my postcard today. Thank you. I saw your signature personally on it, right? And so, but if something happens between today and a week from now, and I can't go, I'm not canceling. I'm not calling. I'm not making excuses. I'm just going to say, well, I guess I just donated $50 more to the Tri-5 Association because I can't come and get my packet of stuff. It's not a big deal. And I'm not a rich person by any means, but there's bigger fish to fry in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody maliciously canceled anything last year. You know, I know, from personal experience, my wife and I didn't sleep for days. That's a horrible, hard decision to make. But, we were in direct contact all the way to the governor's office, and there just wasn't a possibility. And, when we made the decision was, we'll be back. I had for years had customers and, friends and different people who would say, well, my car is just not done. And I would always tell them the same answer. Well, I guarantee we'll have a show again next year. And that mentality is what got me through the decision that had to be made. We'll be back next year.
Right.
And it'll be bigger, and it'll be better, and it'll be more fun, and everyone is going to be exhausted when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even plan. I know I'm driving back Sunday morning. I know that Monday is still going to be shot for me. It's a 12-hour drive pulling the trailer. My Mac straps came today for the new trailer, so I got to figure out strapping the car down, but those showed up. Everybody's out of dog legs for the back of trailer, so I've got a guy welding me up custom dog legs for the back of the trailer. So I'm gearing up. We got the fan. I've got two vintage coolers with the mob logos ready to go. I got the banners ready to go. I do got to put in some new leaf springs, bent the ones in the car. I guess you're supposed to use traction bars when you try to launch. So that's got to get done before I leave. But other than that, it's going to be a fun event. I just hope I'd like to see 89, not 99. Can we turn it down just a little bit,
Well, I start watching the weather right about now, and I start watching it in the Gulf because the Gulf weather, that's what it does. It rotates up.
Yep.
And right now, it's pretty pleasant outside, and I'm about 4 hours north of Bowling Green, a lot further south than you guys are. But right now, we look good. So let's just all keep our fingers crossed, and we'll have a good time.
I know this is not on topic of the Tri-5 Nats, but it is because Chris hasn't heard this. You guys have, but I wanted to let everybody know. We had a member in the mob who joined the mob page July 9th of last year. His name was Mike Hummel, and he battled cancer courageously for about a year. He had liver cancer, and he had a 57 Chevy that he was working on. So everybody on the mob page, I posted up pictures all over the internet, Instagram. Dan Chuck picked up the picture of his car. He passed away last Saturday. And so as our little group,
Actually, 2 Saturdays ago, Craig. Not last Saturday.
Was it 2 Saturdays?
Yeah, not
Yeah, 2
Saturday.
Saturdays. I'm sorry. I'm still on Canadian time. So, all right. So 2 Saturdays ago.
Saturday the 7th.
Yep, he passed away a week and a half ago. We'll say that.
17th,
How's that?
Yep.
Anyway, so we were able to I got a letter today through Messenger from his stepdaughter and his wife, Kim. They got the gifts today that we sent. And so what we were able to do, Chris, was basically we just kind of fundraised a little bit of money. And so I called up in Indianapolis because he lived in Indianapolis, and I called up a flower shop, and I said, "What's the average flower arrangement for a funeral?" And they're like, $65. All right, $185. See what you can do in red, white, and black colors. All right, cool. So that's getting delivered Friday, and then I sent them a packet. I got a mob logo, put on some polycarbonate with a stick, so they're going to put that in the flower when it shows up. I sent them an 8 by 8.
You mean Friday last week?
Nope, this coming Friday.
This coming Friday. Okay.
Yep, because his services are on Saturday. So,
Okay.
So I sent him that to put in him. I sent an 8 by 10 glossy frame picture of his car with the mob logo on it. He was doing a hood like a '94 Corvette, So it popped up like that. Really cool. Nice guy, shared everything, did a lot of participation on the page, called all the time. And we sent him a check for over $1,400. So,
Nice.
and I made sure that in my letter to them, I said, if you need this, that's what it's for. But if not, make sure you do something fun that Mike would have wanted to do with it. This is to go have fun with it. And so to take a little club and do that. And then, of course, I put a little post on my Instagram page, the Tri-5 Mob page over there. And some guy in Hawaii says, "Oh, my God, thanks for telling me. I've been trying to get a hold of Mike. I've become friends," because they were friends somewhere else. And apparently we weren't letting this guy in the mob because we keep our group a little small and just let one person here or there. And so he's got a YouTube channel called Jaws something, but he's got a 57 out, and we just put him in the mob, 57 Chevy out in Hawaii. But so to be able to social media, here's a guy in Indianapolis. He's touched kind of the hearts and of people all around Minnesota, Texas, Nebraska. All of a sudden, I find a guy in Iowa or in Hawaii that he's friends with, and so we did something good. So I want everybody to know that I got the thank you letter. I'm going to try to print it out and stuff today. That the family, she said, as soon as they opened up the envelope full of stuff, they all got teary-eyed and started bawling. So that's good news. He wanted to go to nationals. That was all he talked about. He knew his car wouldn't be ready, and I said, "Hey, just got to hop a ride with one of us. We're driving by. Hop in. Let's take you." And he wanted to hang out, and his health was good up until about the last 3 weeks, and then it took over. So that he really wanted to go. But we're going to all share a drink when we're there and toast one for Mike when we're there.
Absolutely. So, anybody else have any other questions that they want to ask or any other input, Chris? Something, what should people do to be prepared this year or anything like that? Just, to prepare for differences?
Just like I said, I keep reinforcing, just be polite to your neighbors. Enjoy.
Okay.
We're giving everybody an avenue, a venue to have a good time. And it's always the small segment of people who ruins it for the greater good. The hotel crowd over at the host hotel and the other hotels is a lot of fun. But I've seen that go bad. And
I'm getting a ticket this year. I'm going to get a ticket.
I tell you what, if someone comes out and gives you a ticket, nobody on social media should say anything because there's a bunch of people in lawn chairs, and when you're going that fast down a quarter mile, you got a cement wall on either side of you, not a bunch of human beings. So just have fun. There's nothing wrong with spinning the tires and letting loose a little bit, but there's no sense hitting the trans brake in the middle of a road, where there's people sitting on the side.
Right.
Be safe. Know that those people are having as much fun as you are, and they're coming out to see the show, Craig. They're coming out to see that. Just, we try to monitor from a local level some of the locals that come out. That's where the problems normally arise. So, we've got a good group of people. We've got, unfortunately, our good Canadian brothers to the north. I think the border is going to prohibit them from coming this year. A fellow from South Africa has been to 5 of the events, the first 5, Seth, and he can't come this year because of COVID. I'm going to miss all of our international guests because not many of them can come. But we do have representation right now from, I believe, all 40 lower 48 states. And I believe one set of brothers from Alaska. So we're 49 in right now. So,
sweet.
Come, have a good time, pace yourself, and hey, good luck to everybody. Maybe you'll win a car.
Yeah, all right.
I don't even know why you haven't sent me the keys already.
Well,
I mean, look at the headlines if you had True Love on it. Look at the headlines to that.
I've got friends going to the show, so they're going to pick up my packet, and if I win, they're just going to come up, claim to be me, and then we're going to split the car.
All you need is artwork. All you need is the artwork.
All right. Well, I do appreciate everybody for joining us this week, watching. Everybody on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. I want to thank Chris for joining us this week, Craig for coming out and helping the interview, and Joey, thank you so much for helping interview. Thank you so much for your time this week, Chris. and everything you do
thank
for the
you,
Tri
guys.
5 Nationals.
I appreciate it, guys. I couldn't do it without all of you and everyone that shows up. So let's be safe and have a great show. And when I get back, I promise you the Monday after, when everyone else is recovering, I'll be working on next year.
All
Sweet.
right.
Good to hear,
Fair
man.
enough.
Looking forward to this.
Looking
All right.
forward
Thanks,
to
Me
it.
too.
guys.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good week, and we will see you later. Thanks for tuning in to Live in the Mob with your hosts, Daniel, Craig, and Joey. Special thank you to our background designer, Chad Reynolds. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you again next week.